Good evening. Improve the language of your mind. What is the language of your mind? You have the language of your mind. You have the language of your mouth. Isn't it the same thing? We say in the Haggadah, Chacham mahu omer, Rasha mahu omer. Chacham mahu, what he is, he says. The Rasha, the wicked, same thing. What he says, that's what he is. We have different modes of expression. There's the language that we speak. And then there is that subtle language, which is the body language. Who we are, the way we act, the way we react. Unfortunately, in our plastic generation, we have this object which permits us to hide behind it and not see the reaction of the other. In the process of connecting face to face with another, you can learn about the other. But most importantly, you learn about yourself. That's why it's so important to have a relationship, to establish a home, to get married. Because in the process of personal growth, transforming who we are to the person we could be and we deserve to be, there needs to be a reflection that shows us, that thermometer, that shows us exactly where are we. A person that would only see an image of fire, but never get close to fire, close enough to know that it's warm and dangerous, that person can get burnt. Today, in our plastic generation, there is a possibility to connect, get information from another that's been edited, deleted, retransformed, paraphrased, whatever it is. But we're not going to learn about ourselves. The process of that communication, which is nonverbal communication, which is really the communication of the mind. There's a language happening inside there. There's the way I see myself. There's the way I see you look at me. There's your reactions, the reactions I've grown up with, seeing my mother respond to my father respond to my mother, the sibling that I share my life with, and the other siblings, etc. That nucleus of the family creates a certain image, certain ideas, certain concepts, a persona which I believe in. Many times, this image is a very limited image, a limiting image that limits who you truly can become. With the mouth, it's true a person can reach a certain distance. With his nose, maybe he can smell further. With his ears, maybe he can hear a sound which is even further. With his eyes, it's possible he can gaze even further. But with one's mind, in the blink of an eye, you can find yourself in another dimension, in another image. And that's why it is essential for us not to satisfy ourselves with just living life and thinking life in the terminology that we have been fed with all our lives, but we actually grow and improve the language of our mind. I think the optimum in this is marriage. Because contrary to what society likes to say that 1 + 1 is 1, it's really 1 + 1 is 3. The moment that I marry that mirror, as we say, Matzah lo ezer kenegdo, we have a counterpart, ezer, a helper, a support system, kenegdo, against him. What are we saying? It's not very gracious to say, the woman, sometimes it really depends on your merit. She's either your helper or she's against you. Those who translate the word kenegdo, against, it's not really correct according to the Hebrew language. In the Hebrew language, we have something called chaf adimyon. Chaf adimyon is as if the word in Hebrew, negdo, means against. Ke negdo means as if against him. A person has to understand that the world, the dimension of everything, the accumulation of everything that happens in his life is not negdo. It's kenegdo. It's not against. It's as if it's against. It's there to bring an inner dimension of a possibility of growth that's going to bring a person to think completely out of the realm where he has been blocked in all these days. Most of us don't know that Lamborghini used to be a company that did not do cars but trucks, tractors. And one day in a conference, the CEO or the president of Ferrari said something, and the CEO or the president of Lamborghini interjected something, and the guy from Ferrari looks at him and says, "What do you know? You build tractors." I build tractors. And today, it's the race. Who's the greatest? The negdo, the kenegdo is there as if to go against you, but really to challenge you to open your mind to a greater dimension. Transport yourself to a level that you did not think you were able to reach. I don't know if it happens to you. Many times it happens to me. I'm in the middle of saying something, but my mind wanders somewhere, like most probably all of you are doing right now. And as my mind wanders, sometimes I'll go into depth, or I will see something, maybe a person in the crowd that I haven't seen in a long time. And at that moment, I get fixated on that idea. And in the middle of me talking, I'll find myself saying something which is a thought I have, which is completely unrelated to what I'm saying in the middle of my words. Why? Because the thought is much more powerful than the speech. The speech is only an expression. The thought is actually what you're binding to. Actually, if you look at the soul has three garments of expression. Action, I do. Speech, I speak. Thought, I think. Thought is the closest one to the soul. And therefore, the moment you connect to the soul, you connect to the thought in a deep way, you connect to the soul. And that's why it just overrides speech. And you start speaking. Maybe I'm the only one that this crazy things happen to. It happens to all of us. A person is in the middle of his prayer and he gets caught, his eyes gets caught on something, and in his mind he is mumbling something in his mind, and at that moment comes out of his mouth. I don't understand, you're praying. The ultimate, the optimum would be that the mouth and the head are in complete fusion. At that moment, you're in the right drive. Because at the moment that the mind is in its right mind, in the right focus, in the right drive, at that moment you are able to impact reality. But unfortunately, most of us live the life of this dichotomy between the body, the language of the mind, and the image that we want to portray. I want to share with you a piece of Talmud, which I love, which has tremendous depth. The Talmud says the story of a rabbi. His name was Rabbi Chay Amar. The Talmud says Rabbi Chay Amar halash. He was sick. Al legabe Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yochanan went up to see him, to visit the sick. Amar le. Rabbi Yochanan says to Rabbi Chay Amar, Havivin alecha yisurin? Do you enjoy suffering? He answers him, Amar le, lo hen velo secharan. I don't enjoy the suffering, and I don't enjoy the benefits you get of the suffering. Okay. Rabbi Yochanan gives him a bracha, a blessing. Hav leyadeh ve'ukmei, gives him a blessing, gives him his hand, gets him up and out of his sickness. Now, that same Rabbi Yochanan that just a while ago gave a blessing and got him out of his sickness, Rabbi Yochanan halash, he got sick. Legabe Rabbi Hanina. Rabbi Hanina came to visit him. Amar le, he said to Rabbi Yochanan, Havivin alecha yisurin, do you enjoy the suffering? He answers him, no. Lo hen velo scharan. Not them and not the merit you get from the suffering. Amar le, hav le yadeh. Give me your hand. Ya'iv le yadeh ve'ukmeh. He got his hand, he shook his hand, gave him a bracha, and got him out. The question is, am I Elokim Rabbi Yochanan Nafshe? Rabbi Yochanan has the power to get somebody else out of sickness. He can't get himself out of his sickness. And we answered, Amre en havush matir et atzmo. A person which is bound, cannot free himself from his imprisonment. We look at this story, and there's something utterly wrong. Imagine tomorrow you hear, God forbid, Haz v'Shalom, somebody is sick. You want to do this great mitzvah called Bikur Cholim, visiting the sick. You go, say, hi, Mrs. Janet, how are you doing? Do you enjoy being here in bed in that unit? You enjoy suffering? It seems to be a cruel way of addressing a person which is sick. How dare you? But here there's a much, much deeper message. I heard once from a psychologist a much deeper message. Why are you sick? What is sickness? Sickness means that I'm not in the same wavelength between who I am here and who I portray myself to be. And therefore, what happens is my body is trying to keep up with my mind. My body is trying to be in the situation where I'm going to portray. But at the same time, that's not who I am. So I have to play this game. Should I stop or should I go now?
Sorry.
Where am I going? Mm-hmm. Who am I? What am I? So what happens is the body takes it on. And suddenly the body, I don't want to deal with the problem. I don't want to deal with the problem of my identity. So, God forbid, we make ourselves sick. And I have a backache. I can't move. I can't function. It's just not happening. Why aren't you moving? Why aren't you growing? Why aren't you succeeding? I have my back. I don't feel good. On my head. I'm not there. There's a doctor by the name of Dr. Sarno. A friend of mine, which was for 3 days, lying down. He could not get up. Went to see chiropractors and whatever you want. Went to see this Dr. Sarno. The doctor spent 2 hours with him, didn't touch him. That night he danced at his friend's wedding. What happened? So one day, I had a problem. My back was hurting me. I was in tremendous pain. My lower back, I was crying. Just any movement. Couldn't sit, couldn't stand. It was terrible. It was just before Pesach. I didn't lift anything. But I knew Pesach, it's, hundreds of people coming here in the synagogue. Things are happening, responsibilities, and we have to distribute matzah, and I have to take care of this, and so many things happening. So, and I had a problem with my house, and I had a problem with the mortgage, so many issues. I called him. I said, Shmuley, what do I do? Help me out of this. He said, no problem. And for the next half an hour, I found myself speaking to my subconscious mind, telling it, I know there is this issue and that issue, and I'm dealing with this issue and that issue. I am healthy. And suddenly, I felt like an exorcism. I felt something was happening. Suddenly, my lower back wasn't hurting. But my shoulder was in a terrible pain. And it was moving from one place on the back to the other. Till eventually, it stopped. It was exhausting. It stopped. But I started building up a fever. I was just feeling so weak. Right away, I feeling cold. I ran took a hot shower. I went into bed. Next morning, what I was suffering for days just disappeared. Chavivim alecha yisurim. You want to be better? 1 second. The switch has to happen over here. Do you enjoy being sick? Do you enjoy not dealing with the matter at hand? Do you enjoy not being in a perfect fusion between what your mind wants and what you're doing? You don't enjoy it. So why are you doing it? Change yourself. Transform who you are. Live it up. Stop with this distraction of the body. The body's there to serve you, not to serve him. Once that becomes the center of distraction, the center of attention, then I'm wasting time. I'm wasting valuable potential. I'm not doing what I'm supposed to. The world today is all led by distraction. Everybody's muffling their problems in one way or the other. But the most unhealthy way to muffle your problems is to be sick. And I want to tell you, it's not healthy to be sick. Actually, it's not, right? So, don't be sick. Do you enjoy the suffering? No. Okay. I don't enjoy them, and I don't enjoy the benefits I get from them. Whatever it is, the benefits, the pity, the excuse, whatever I don't enjoy it. Okay. Now we have what to talk about. Now I can bless you. We have people all their life, instead of changing the language of their mind, they go from one rabbi to the other, one Kabbalist to the other, one psychologist to the other, one friend to the other, just to seek approval. Am I okay? What? No, I just want to know because I did this and I did that and so on and so forth. Is it... Stop. Take a breath. Take a deep breath and think. Am I doing this to myself? Can I change the way I think? Maybe if I change the way I think, I'm going to be healthy. You know that there's a whole group of people that heal people with laughter. People that are, I'm not saying it always works. I don't actually know all the details of how it works. But putting yourself in a situation where you're able to laugh about things. Changing that language, like the Lubavitcher Rebbe when he got his heart attack, and he continued with more strength and more force, more power, accomplishing even more. The doctor said, Rebbe, don't you know that 80% of people die from such a heart attack? They don't survive. And the Rebbe ignored him. He says, Rebbe, you have to slow down. Did you hear what I said? 80% of people don't survive such a... And the doctor insisted again. And then the Lubavitcher Rebbe turns to him and says, I heard you. 20% of people survive such a heart attack. It is our choice to focus on what we want to focus. Yosef HaTzadik lost his mother at the age of 9, was sold by his brothers at the age of 17, And now he is going down to Egypt. Sold. Who is carrying down to Egypt? The Torah tells us people that were merchants of perfume. Rashi on the spot explains, why does the Torah have to give us such a detail? Who cares how he went down to Egypt? Is that really important, how you're going down? If you're going down, you're going down. There's no. You don't understand. Who usually goes down to Egypt? People that sell tar, things that stink, that it's uncomfortable. But for this tzaddik, this righteous, holy Jew, he went down with class. This is a guy that went down with people that sell perfume. I believe that really what the Torah is telling us is a much deeper message. Yosef was going down. He wasn't focusing on all the negative. He was focusing, wow, it could have been worse than this. I could have gone down in such a terrible way. But here, I'm going down with perfume, which means, you know what? Even here, there's an opportunity. Even here, God is going down with me. And therefore, he becomes who he becomes. The right hand of Mr. Potiphera, the headmaster. Eventually, he becomes who he becomes. Because in every given situation, the language of his mind is not what my brother said about me. It's not what people think if I'm alive or dead. It's not the fact that I don't have a mother or I come from a dysfunctional family. It's all about the fact that, you know what? If anybody's going to make it, it's going to be me. Nobody can change me. I'm the only one that can change me. You can ask a tzaddik for a bracha, for a blessing. But it says, Urechatz et besaro ulevesham. You want to wear holy garments? You have to first of all cleanse your flesh. Cleanse this way of thinking that you have. Think healthy. You know how we feel when we eat junk food? Terrible. That's how our brain feels when we feed it with negative thoughts. B'tzemach tzedek, the third Lubavitcher Rebbe says that you have to push away negative thoughts about yourself, just like you push away thoughts of idol worship. So, what's improving the language of your mind? Improving the language of your mind starts with the fact that you give value to your inner self. You know, it's very interesting. We have two types of movements in the world. We have the positive movement and we have the negative movement. The right and the left. The rightists and the leftists. The Jewish people are compared to an egos. What's an egos?
I don't know.
A nut. When you look at the egos, you look at it and you say, there's no fruit there. It's so hard. There's no fruit. There's no benefit. this is what it is. It's terrible. But eventually, the shell falls and you discover the fruit. You have a choice to focus on the shell or focus on the fruit. When we were liberated from Egypt, we became free. But right after, we went into another exile. So why are we free? We are free because at any given moment, once we've experienced freedom, we can experience freedom again. As I mentioned in previous classes, it's just like when we were kids. When we were babies, we all crawled. But once we learned how to walk, we stopped crawling. But even, God forbid, a person that would be so sick that we'd have to crawl on the ground. Or he would be in captivity and crawl. The mere fact that he knows that as soon as he's going to be free, he can get back on his feet, that in itself means that he's a free man, essentially. But the person that never learned how to walk is not a free man. The fact that I have a shell around me presently, if I focus on the shell, that's what I'm going to have. But the moment I know there was one moment in my life, one time in my life, that I freed myself of something, even a little bit, at that moment, I can tap into this. And that tapping into this is able to let me free. And that's why the ultimate improving the language of the mind is to look at a situation and say, wow, gamzu letova. There were two rabbis that had two separate ways of looking at things. Rabbi Akiva and his teacher, Rabbi Nachum Ish Gamzu. Rabbi Akiva said, Kol ma de avid rahmana letav avid. Whatever God does is for the good. There's going to be a benefit. But Rabbi Nachum Ish Gamzu, he said, no, this is good. Improving the language of the mind means that at the moment I get that slap in the face, I say, thank you. Thank you, this is good. What is good? God forbid, I don't give the other sheik. I'm having a challenge presently, but at the moment that I'm receiving that challenge, I'm saying, you know what? There is a benefit here. This is a revelation of God which I'm not understanding, but I accept it as so. The moment I accept it fully in my mind, and I say this is what's going to be the growing experience, the growing point for me, then it becomes a pivotal point to get you somewhere else. I don't know of a person that has been able to do what's called a quantum leap, jump, without making a few steps back, without having some type of shock or trauma that suddenly awakened his soul potential. Imagine if we're able to look at every situation, at a word that someone is going to tell us, and change the language and say, you know what? What they're saying to me, that's not what they mean. They mean something else. I think it was Rabbi Nachman of Breslev which writes in Sichat Aran, says, I'm not upset at all these people that speak bad about me. Because I truly believe that they're not speaking bad about me. They're speaking bad about the person they think I am. But if they knew me, they would never speak like this. What a genius way to look at a situation and say, I'm going to improve the way I think, even of my enemy. I just got a slap in the face, but I realized that the person that gave me the slap didn't mean me. They meant something else. And therefore, I'm able to accept even that slap and grow from it. Think at a deeper level. And as we are going into the month of Iyar, which is Ani Hashem Rofecha, the month of health, in order to promote physical health, you have to have mental health. And mental health starts the moment you unstuck yourself. The word refuah in Hebrew, health, healing, comes from the word rafeh, soft, supple. As soon as you're stiff and stuck, a person can't do it. A woman that doesn't believe she can hold babies will not be able to hold them. Because she feels maybe I'm not deserving. When I got my house, when we bought a house, buying a house, I think, is one of the most challenging undertakings. Say, we're doing this, which means, wow, we're going to have to pay a mortgage. After I bought my house, something happened. I was so excited, so happy. I had the synagogue, I had the house. I was able to host in my sukkah 60 people at every meal. You know, it's the dream of every rabbi, I think. And after the holidays passed, suddenly I felt depressed. I didn't know why I was depressed. Why am I depressed? The synagogue was full. The sukkah was full. I had extraordinary holidays. I have a house. And it took time. It took me almost 3 weeks to come to the realization that my mind was telling me, Shy, you don't deserve this. You don't deserve all this success. You're going to lose it. You don't deserve it. You're going to lose it. So in my mind, I already lost it. You can have everything and at the same time have nothing and lose it in one moment. Baruch Hashem, I realized this fast enough with God's help. But there's so many opportunities out there that we have, that because we limit ourselves or limit our minds, we say it's not possible. I once heard there's a great developer by the name of Michael Deser. Many years ago, Aleim Shalom, they were storekeepers right here. They told me, years ago, we used to have a bunch of franchises of different stores that used to sell, I don't know what, sportwear. And we invited Mr. Desert to become our partner. And he answered us. Working on a $5 million deal or working on a $100 million building is the same effort. So if already I'm going to put the effort forth, let me put it for the great things, not for some stores. And thank God, today you see the whole sunny eyes. When we limit our minds, we are limiting our souls. And our souls are boundless. So Bezrat Hashem Yitbarach, the next time the world is trying to tell you no, think deep in yourself and ask yourself, it's true, the world is saying no to me. The world is saying no to the 60% that I want to offer in order that I should give 110%. To conclude with the story of Rabbi Steinsaltz. Rabbi Adin Steinsaltz, he should live and be well, in good health, came once to see the Rebbe. He was working on 7 projects. One of them is an extraordinary project, which is the translation and the elucidation of the whole Talmud, the Steinsaltz Talmud. And he said to the Rebbe, I'm working on 7 projects. Is it possible, where should I cut? And the Rebbe said, you should add. As a Chassid, a follower, he didn't ask any questions. He thought about it, gave it some more thought, and he says, I understand. This cup, in this configuration, cannot contain more than however many milliliters of water. But if I bring this cup back to its original form, before it was created, and I decide to create it in a different way, I can maybe make it contain double the water it's containing now. The way I am now, the way I'm thinking now, this is what I can do. But if I go to the depth of who I am, and what God wants from me, and what powers He gave me, and I stop, I make these 3 steps back, then I can jump to another vision altogether. God bless you.